Hey everyone, welcome to the next installment of the IATBP Fireside Chat series where we sit down and talk to people in our community and who've competed with us and worked with us in the past as well. Get to know them, get to know their involvement in our community, and hopefully educate you guys on what our community and what the IATBP is about. So today we're going to be sitting down with Rashad. German. I think that's how I pronounce his name. We'll make sure when he gets on. And of course, my co-host Siafeng. And I'm gonna be inviting him right now. So if I seem a little distracted, that's why. We'll get a little bit more into Rashad's backstory. But Rashad was actually our head judge at last year's bodybuilding competition, and for several years has also been a sitting judge for us as well, and is going to be again this year. So we're very excited to talk to Rashad and get to know him. And talk about his experience judging. Rashad and Siafeng, are you guys online? I don't see you on video. Maybe my internet's a little bit delayed. Yeah, that's
Really?
weird. I can hear you, but I can't see you. I'm not sure why.
Really? Oh, because I can see
Well,
ourselves.
I mean, that's okay. We can continue, and hopefully the video, like on my screen, catches up. But I hope our followers can see.
Do you want us to get out?
Okay,
Let's get out and try again.
All right, we want to make sure that everything is up to speed. So they're just going to hop off and then get back on again. Let me also make sure that, my internet is working just fine. We tend to have a lot of technical difficulties getting people on here. All right, let's see. Got an invite? Accept? Go live. All right, here we go. Should be working now. All right. Hey, I see you guys.
Hey. Now we can't see you. Okay, there we go. There we go. How's it going?
I'm great now, especially that I can see both of y'all's faces. This is awesome. How are you guys?
Great.
Yeah, we're great.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, we were trying to set up this thing.
Okay. Well, I mean, it worked out because I can hear both of you, so.
We got mics.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, before you guys hopped on, I was just telling the people who are already here kind of what we're going to be doing here today. So for those of you guys who are just joining us now, just to reiterate, we're just continuing the IATBP Fireside Chat series, which is where we sit down with different community members, people who've competed or worked with the IATBP, or who've worked with the community, and just kind of get to know them and their work and their involvement, and hopefully educate, our athletes in our community and our allies about who we are and what we're about, what we're doing, and maybe educate them a little bit more about bodybuilding and powerlifting in the process. So thank you so much, Rashad, for driving over to Siafeng's place. I'm assuming that's what you did, and sitting down with us.
Yes, that's what I did.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know it's like super busy, so it really means a lot that you're willing to do this. And before we hop into the actual conversation, I do just want to give a shout out to the IATBP. So we're the International Association of Trans Bodybuilders and Powerlifters, and every single year we put on a bodybuilding show and a powerlifting meet in Atlanta, Georgia. And this year it's going to be on November 18th. So for anyone who's still interested in competing with us, you can go on our website and sign up. There's actually a post on our Instagram profile pinned right at the top that explains to you how to go on our website, become a member first, and then sign up to compete. And registration is still open. And then if you are interested in supporting us, if you stick around for the conversation and you get anything out of the conversation, then we would love to have your support. And you don't need to be an athlete or planning to compete in order to support us. To become a member is just $49 a year. And that information is also on that same post as well, how to become a member. So did I miss anything, Siafeng?
No, you're perfect.
Okay, awesome. I always feel like I'm going off the cuff, so I don't know if I got everything.
I'm actually
and my name's Nat.
I was distracted by the new awesome haircut.
Oh, well, thank you. But yeah, I forgot to say, my name's Nat. I'm the Assistant Executive Director of the IATBP. And then sitting for me, it's on the left side, CEO-founder is one of our board members and the ambassador of the IATBP. And to the right of CEO-founder is Rashad, who is a special guest today. So again, thanks Rashad for sitting down with us. We really appreciate your time.
No problem.
Okay, if I'm pausing a lot, if I like take long pauses, it's because I think there's a delay in the audio and I don't want to cut either of y'all off. So just letting you know. But yeah, so for those of y'all who don't know who Rashad is or aren't coming from Rashad's Instagram following, by the way, am I saying your name right? It's Rashad Germain or German?
German.
German.
Just like the language. German. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure I got that right. So Rashad is actually last year's head judge for our bodybuilding competition, and for several years also is a sitting judge alongside the head judge for several of our IATBP bodybuilding competitions. And according to your bio, also your Instagram account, an avid barber and have a very successful career cutting hair, something that you're also very passionate about alongside bodybuilding. And also a long history of philanthropy and using your passions, cutting hair, bodybuilding, and your nonprofit Project H.I.M to give back and be involved in our community and kind of empowering others through your work. So yeah, just very excellent, experience for you to share with our followers today, and I'm super excited to dig into it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess, CFO, should we kick off with kind of the general questions that we love to ask to get to know the people that we have on here?
Yeah, of course. I've been waiting for you to ask the first question.
Okay, sorry. It's because we have such a long intro thing that we do. I just want to make sure I'm trying to be professional. I don't know. Yeah, so we always love to kind of get to know our guests a little bit for people who follow us who maybe don't know much about who you are, where you come from. We always ask kind of what specifically got you into lifting and bodybuilding specifically, and where that interest and passion came from personally in your life.
Well, going back to high school, I played in 5 sports, so I was always passionate about staying fit, if anything else. When I moved to Tallahassee, Florida, back in 1996, I met a young man at a gym, and we connected instantly. And his name was Teddy. He was one of my good friends back then. He was the one that actually got me into bodybuilding. I knew nothing about bodybuilding until I met him. Going to the gym every day, I thought it was just all about working out. But when it got to that diet part, it was like, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. But, having people in your corner to actually push you and be there with you and check on you and make sure you're doing right is what kind of got me halfway disciplined when it came to bodybuilding. After he moved, I had already connected with another bodybuilder, and we became workout partners. And so I was able to get that full bodybuilding experience with him, going to shows and, watching the progress of people throughout the 12 weeks or so, however long it took to get ready for the bodybuilding show. I was able to see the backstaging, I was able to see the on-staging, the good, the bad, the pros, the cons of it all. So I was like, maybe I should try it. So I actually started preparing for a bodybuilding show. I was a little weary about wearing a 2-piece at the time, so it was one of those things where I was that bodybuilder that stayed covered up the entire time until I got to the edge of the stage. I would drop my clothes right there, and then I would go on stage and do my thing. But again, it was 2 individuals, Teddy and a guy named Gary, that got me into bodybuilding and actually getting ready for competitions and stuff.
Yeah, and then I'm curious actually to know, like you talk about you have played like 5 sports in high school. So what are the 5 sports? Are they kind of connected to bodybuilding or entirely different?
No, I played volleyball, I played basketball, I played football with the guys. I played I ran track, and I also played baseball. Yeah, softball and baseball. Yeah, so.
Did you like
So,
forget
yeah.
what it was called for a second?
Yeah, it was two sports in one season, so they allowed me to jump back and forth depending on where we played or who we played, but I still had to go to both practices.
So it sounds like you were an athlete kind of already, like you just did a ton of sports even before you got into competitive bodybuilding.
Yes.
Okay.
So so I would be like curious about, what would be because, you play a lot of ball games.
Mm-hmm.
I think track and field is probably the only kind of individual sports,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do you transition from, playing group, like, a team sports to, doing bodybuilding, which is pretty individual?
Adaptation. You have to adapt to what you want to do. If I want to be on a team, I gotta be a team player. If I'm going to do a single sport, I have to have that mindset to say, okay, this is me, this is my personal goal and not a team goal.
Is there
That's interesting.
one that you kind of, is there one that you kind of preferred? Because I find with like bodybuilders, like competitive bodybuilders, historically, they kind of like lean more towards individual sports, or like they try team sports and they're like, nah, like I can't trust other people. So they kind of shift into track or martial arts or whatever it is that's more individual,
What was the question?
Which one did you kind of like, you feel like you preferred? Like, was there kind of a history of one, or?
I'd rather be around people. So whether I'm working out in the gym or playing a team sport, at the end of the day, it's still my own personal goal of what I'm trying to achieve, whether it's for the team or for myself. So when it came to bodybuilding, I knew I wanted my body to look a certain way. So I had to, it was tough because I don't like working out by myself. And I tell people all the time, I hate working out alone, but if I have to work out alone, I will. Like, I'll just put my music in my ear and get in my zone. And if I need to get a spot, I'll just ask somebody, but I would prefer to have a workout partner so we can get through it together and kind of feed off each other. Okay. So again, that becomes a team thing as well.
You're all kind of working together to build your physique.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really true that, a lot of people often assume that bodybuilding or even powerlifting itself is just a very individual sport.
Right.
But actually, you have a whole team behind you, right? Sometimes the team would be comprised of your coach or, whatever coach, maybe you have a dozen different coaches.
Right.
And then you will have workout partners. And and family and friends, that you have a huge support system. Right behind you. So even though you are the one who are actually, stepping on stage, right? You actually have a whole team behind you. So I think it's a very much team effort as well. But, what I like about bodybuilding or, in general, individual sport is that I feel like, I can control more of, the outcomes and, whether it's the training part or the diet part or the being disciplined, I feel like I have more control than in a team sport where sometimes, you have to also rely on whether your teammates actually have a similar goal. Because if they don't, then it will become somehow,
It'll be difficult.
To
try to achieve something,
Yeah, or people are too competitive. They all just want their own results, but not thinking in terms of a team, right? So I think that sometimes, playing different ball games, for instance, being in a team, like, could at least for me, I was in a rowing team, I was in a dragon boat team, and I think what I learned from that is that it was it was hard to handle the gossips. It wasn't hard to train.
God, the drama.
Yes, all these dramas. I don't want to be part of it, but I'm always being part of it because you're in the team. So I think that's why I switched to individual sport, and I enjoy actually much more. Working out, and getting your own results, then you can actually be more in control.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think that's.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. I think there's a delay, so I think you and I start asking the same question, but I don't notice you're asking it until I've already started talking. So you go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So my follow-up question for Rashad is, how does gender come into play? So do you already kind of know about your gender identity, when you do sport, when you start a sport, or does, in what ways does maybe bodybuilding help you to realize about your gender, or does it not?
Well, I've always been masculine, even before transitioning. So I honestly didn't know anything about transition until 2014. In my previous life, it was it was the norm for me to just be masculine and I mean protect myself of who I am and like I said, my partner was the one that actually did the research for me in 2014. I knew nothing about transition, so once I got the the knowledge and the education on it, I was like, well, yeah, this may be where I'm supposed to be. So, but before it didn't bother me as far as the gender. I just knew I was masculine. I didn't know anything different. So.
That's interesting. So how that because I think there is somehow a difference between like feeling that you're masculine versus that okay I want to do something further, right? Whether it's like by training your body to a certain maybe certain ideal, right? And to undergoing some of these medical transition. So what makes you feel like okay this is a time that okay I need to do something more than just being who I am as I always been?
Well, again, it came from my partner doing the research. 2014.
So it's more like I realized that okay.
Yeah, like okay, it is somewhere else for me to be out there. So, and once I got that information, that's why I decided to go ahead and do the transition, and I did everything in a year.
Oh.
2014. Yeah, I got the information in January. I went to my doctor, I think the following week, and it went from there. So once I realized that I knew all about trans women. Knew nothing about trans men until the research was done for me. So once it was done, I educated myself more on it, and I said, wait, this is where I'm supposed to be. So in other words, before it was just me, who I am now, without a beard.
Right.
So.
Do you think that like sports and lifting weights, like was it a way to kind of express your masculinity in any way? I mean, I know
in some ways,
that's what it was.
In some ways, yeah, because when it came to lifting, you got guys being like, this female lifting more weight than me. So, but it was just intriguing to myself to be able to do it, and all in the same way of getting my body at the level that I wanted it.
So in comparison to the previous, like some of these team sports that you have done versus bodybuilding, what makes you stick with bodybuilding and not going back to some of these like ball games and team sports?
Well, it's all about just keeping the physique now. At this point, I'm getting old. I'm much older now, so we got bones that are starting to weaken, joints come in play. And so lifting weights for me is the way to just to keep my body or even enhance or bring it down to where I need with the help of my workout partner, Seafoam. So, I just love working out. I used to love basketball, I used to love football, but I could really hurt myself in them sports. Not saying you can't hurt yourself in bodybuilding because you can, but if you got someone there that's, watching over you and making sure things are going to get done correct, it's less likely that you will hurt yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like, playing ball games sometimes, whatever ball games you're playing, you have to run around, you have to jump, you have to, twist your body in some certain ways that is somehow sometimes unpredictable, more unpredictable than, working with, a machine that you basically know the trajectory of like the movement of your body. And so it is much more controlled unless you're doing like, people doing ego lifting, and just lift whatever, and, not thinking really about the form and stuff like that. Yeah. So I definitely think that because we do see a lot of like social media, videos that we see people do crazy weights, right? And sometimes I would say ego training a lot. And a lot of times, kids see all these like social media stuff and they're like, okay, I need to try that as well because it makes me feel cool, right? But at the end of the day and then they, and then of course they lead to different types of injury. I've seen people in their 20s, they have all sorts of injuries that they shouldn't have if they have, follow step by step of gaining their progression, right, in terms of lifting weights. And I've known people in their 20s having knee injury, shoulder injury, chest pack, here, all of the stuff, right, all together because they don't really know, and they thought training and lifting heavy is the way. And I think, I mean, in a lot of ways, you still see that a lot at the gym. So, I think a bodybuilding training style, even though, the competition part might be very harsh to a lot of people, I think it's the training routine itself actually help to it's actually safer in a lot of ways.
It is. I'm pretty sure the rates of injury for bodybuilding is way lower than most other sports. You just have to be smart about it. Like, you just can't do anything crazy and stupid, like you said, like any crazy thing you see on Instagram that is going to get you injured, potentially. But yeah, I think I see where you're coming from, Rashad, because it's an incredibly safe sport, generally speaking. And because, resistance training is really good for your general health, it's a really great thing to continue on, like, into when you get older. So, that makes more sense.
One thing I always plan to. So I started with marathon and cross country running
Really?
at the very beginning of like my sports, journey, and I always thought that I started wrong because marathon running and not cross country running, but marathon running. I think I always felt like it is better for people, who are in their 30s, 40s, or afterwards. Because first of all, it does not require as much physical strength. It requires more endurance. And actually, as you grow older, you actually be more patient as well. Because when I was young, I was like, 10K, and I was like, fuck it, I feel like I need to run as fast as I can, and then I just get exhausted at the last 2K, right? Versus someone who started with very steady pacing, they actually win. Yes. And so
I've never thought about it like that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, and I also thought that I went to the marathon running too early. So if I were like if I do it 10, 20 years later, I actually have more patience in running, and then I can be more pacing. But at the end of the day, I realized that those training of being patient, being steady, actually helps me a lot in my bodybuilding training. That I have to make sure I really feel that muscle connection, make sure I have the time and attention in some of my trainings, and make sure I'm steady. And also that you don't go faster, slower in one rep or the other. So I think sometimes all these sports that you have done in your before bodybuilding or alongside bodybuilding actually can help you with bodybuilding. Yeah, that's what I think. Let's switch the topic a little bit to something more personal. I mean, bodybuilding, of course, training part is also personal to you. But I'm just very curious about why you pick cutting hair as your profession. Can you tell us more about that?
So when I was 13, we always had a barbershop connected to our home back in a small town where I'm from called Immokalee, Florida. And my dad was a barber and my mom was a beautician. So I would always go over and watch him once I'm done with my chores. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something I could do on the side, to kind of make a little extra little money here and there. But I was 13, I didn't really know about it. So I was like, well, let me just pick up some clippers and, try. So he actually gave me a pair of clippers and I would just play around with one of my cousins or something. I just play around with it. And till
that's a lot of trust.
Yeah, right, exactly. A lot of trust. So I would play around in his head, but it became one of those things where I was like, wow, it amazes me how you could have one of the worst days or you could not be feeling so well, but as soon as you get that haircut, it makes you feel a lot better. So and it's part of, self-care as well, and I'm big on self-care. So when I was saying that it was changing people's lives in different ways or for that moment or it just became a passion of mine to where I went ahead and stuck with it. I always had a part-time job on the side because, you got to get the knowledge and get licensed and all that stuff for barbering. So what I did was when I was in college, I would cut, guys outside the dorm I wasn't doing too much in college because, I was trying to study and stuff, but I still went to this barbershop. I got connected with different barbershops. This guy gave me the opportunity to work in this shop with no license. I appreciated that.
And I were you in college?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
again, a lot of trust.
Yeah, as soon as I graduated, I was in the shop pretty much on the weekend. taking a lot of risks because if state board or something came in, you know, I would have to dash for it, you know, like I'm not cutting anybody because that's a big fine. But on the flip side of it, I just felt like it was something that I wanted to continue to do. So when I moved to Atlanta, I took it a lot more serious and went ahead and enrolled in school, obtained my license, went to a barbershop that was really popular in the area, built up my clientele, and then I moved over to a salon suite for a more private and intimate session with my clients. So it's just been a passion of mine, and I love it. And so now I do it full time.
Wow.
That's how I got into it.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of people have a lot of faith in you, man, because I don't know. I don't know if I'd let anyone in my family come near me with a pair of clippers, so that's but
Yeah.
but it's a good thing it happened because I mean it sounds like that is what sort of gave you the stepping stones to get you to where you are now in your career, were those kind of earlier opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so based on, you sent me kind of your longer bio, and based on the way you talked about the experience of cutting hair, well, so two things really, but the first thing was you kind of speak about cutting hair as a way to like empower other people, and even just now you said you were amazed with the way that cutting somebody's hair could shape and change the way that they saw themselves or the way their day was going or whatever it was. So can you kind of go in depth about that a little bit more and tell us like just in more detail through, I'm sure, years and years and years of cutting hundreds of clients' hair, like that experience. What is it about that process that you enjoy, and what about it do you think like people get out of it, you know, that helps and empowers the person sitting in the chair?
So that's a great question.
Sorry, I know I threw a lot at you there, but it's a huge curiosity I had reading your bio.
It's okay. So when I say empower, we honestly, barbers are unlicensed therapists. Because normally when someone sits in your chair, if they're having a bad day, who's going to hear about it? The barber.
Yep.
You know, if you got people in the vicinity of your area, if there's something's going on, they're going to talk, and it turns into a barbershop conversation.
Yeah.
Or now in my suite, it's a suite conversation. And so just seeing someone having a bad day, you know, they're coming in for a haircut. They either haven't had a haircut in a week or a couple weeks or whatever. It depends on how bad the situation is. Some just have been through depression, but getting that out helps. Me giving my feedback if asked or if needed, because sometimes you just need to listen and hear. But when I'm done with a haircut and I turn them around to the mirror, it's like, man, I finally look like somebody, or I feel much better, or it just amazes me how a simple haircut or sometimes a simple lineup will have someone just feeling amazing for that day and be ready to actually be out in the world or be outside, as we say now. You know, and people see them feeling a little better than what they were coming in. Some people just already happy or even having a great day. They're all of a sudden feeling better about it because now they have a haircut. But it just the conversation that you get to have with your clients, and you get to know each other on a more personal level. You building their trust, they building your trust, and it just amazes me.
And I have to say, he's my barber right now.
Right.
Well, I need a haircut,
I believe it.
obviously, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna get a haircut soon. But you know, I think one thing that I really enjoy, you know,
see if I'm sorry,
cutting.
can you like adjust your mic, because you're cutting, like you're really quiet and far away. I can't really hear you.
Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I will hold this.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Rashad's for some reason is fine. I don't know what's up with yours.
Okay, yeah. No, maybe it's just my voice projection. Yeah, so I was like, so he's my barber right now, and obviously in the haircut, you know, from how I look right now. But yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that I really enjoy at his suite is that that I think is kind of uncommon that you will see, you know, not just people lining up, but his friends, his clients would just sometimes randomly pop up, and then we just talk about whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's a lot. That's kind of a community that I think a lot of us are craving for, right? Because it's not just having that relationship, one-to-one with your barber, but also being able to connect with, barber's friends and clients, and being able to, I remember at times I gave out workout tips to some of his clients and friends. And I think, just by sitting there, waiting for him to get to workout, waiting for my cut. So I think, those are things that I think we don't actually see a lot of that anymore. I mean, I've been to a few different barbershops before I met Rashad. I was able to build a really good relationship with the barber himself, but it's just very different from working, people who are working at at a more commercial style kind of, what is that, corporate commercial style of of barber shops, where you can have a few conversations, but it's always really timed, right? It's always 20 minutes and this done, or 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And if you talk over time, people are waiting in line, because I think that's how typically like capitalism works. Make sure you're in and out so quickly. But I think what Rashad Sweets is, and your shop is doing is actually building that community, right? And that community is not just and it's not just for profit, but it's also really being able to allow people to stay there and then to chill. And I really like you have all sorts of like
So I have so in my suite, I want to make it a very comfortable setting. So you have snacks when you come in. You have drinks, adult drinks, and regular sodas or juice or water. Somebody just may need it at that moment, and it's just something courtesy that I do for my clients. When they come to my suite, I have a TV for you to watch TV, we listen to music, or but if someone wants it private, my clients respect that. So if Seafoam came in, or he knows that people are already in my suite, or they're sitting there, or they're chatting with me, but if he tell me, hey Rashad, I really want this to be a private session this time, I will let my clients know, hey, the next client that I have is a private session. I will close my door, close my curtains. Nobody can walk by and look in and see him getting his haircut. He just may need that moment to just be, because some people use getting a haircut as relaxation. They don't want to talk at all. They just come in and just want to sit in the chair and close their eyes, and that's it. And I allow that. So that was another reason for me getting my own suite, because a barbershop sometimes can be hectic. You come in a barbershop, sometimes you may have a million different energies, different spirits around in the area, and it just might not be a good space at that time, because you don't want someone else around you to say the wrong thing and then it blows up. So I like that I have the suite setting. There's all positive energy coming into my suite, and it's very comfortable coming in my suite.
Yeah, I love that, because I'm that person. I don't like to talk when I'm getting my hair cut. And
everybody don't like to talk.
Awkward. Yeah, it's always awkward when the barber's trying to ask me questions and talk to me, and I don't know how to say I don't want to talk right now, it's not personal, but can you just cut my hair?
Yeah, I'm entirely opposite to you. I love talking.
Yeah.
I would start asking barbers a lot of stuff, and then I get to know all his private life. So my first barber, and then we became really good friends. My first barber, he's now relocated to Chicago, and then he ended up helping me to pick some furniture at my house.
Oh shit.
Yeah, some of my furniture right now. We went to IKEA together.
Yeah, you never know the connection that people may have when you start talking to them. So.
Yeah. Well, that's
really
cool. I mean,
I think you have a great question that you want to ask. I'll leave that for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is kind of the other. Yeah, I said I had two kind of related questions, and the other one is when I was reading your bio and kind of saw the way that you were talking about cutting hair. It reminded me a lot of the way that I experience bodybuilding, and kind of as like an art form almost. And I was wondering if you maybe if had ever considered or thought about the possibility that maybe there's a connection between your passion for cutting hair and your passion for bodybuilding, because to me they're both aesthetic practices, and they both involve a sort of precision, attention to detail, and tens of thousands of hours for you to really master it, and perfect it. Um, I think the only difference is that kind of like cutting hair is more like you empowering others and making others feel good, and bodybuilding is more about empowering yourself and pushing your own boundaries. But I was wondering if you had ever thought about that or considered that as a possibility, and if you have, like, what your thoughts on that are. If not, then it's all good. You can just.
I mean, it does coincide with each other because, like you said, both of them are art. So with both of them being part of art, I get empowered as well because sometimes hearing the stories of how someone feels and me maybe giving them a solution to what they got going on could actually help them feel a lot better about what's going on. So, and also, like I said, cutting hair, the finishing product is a nice cut, precision lines. You get some type of result from it. Same thing with bodybuilding. You work out enough, eventually you will see the results. The results are definitely not going to come overnight for bodybuilding, but they can come overnight for a haircut. So the total thing for me is the end result. It doesn't matter when it comes. So yeah, they both. I'm passionate about both of them.
Yeah.
Seafong has taught me a lot when it comes to different body parts on myself. Muscles that I never knew had to be touched. I'm finally touching them, and people outside of myself are seeing the results. So yeah, and also like with haircutting, it's the same thing. Your hair may go in one way, and you combing it in a totally opposite way. But once you come to me, I'm explaining to you how to comb it or how to brush it to get the best result, or what product to use, or what type of haircut may fit you better than the one that you're asking for, because of your hair texture or whatnot. So it all comes in together, man. You feel me? So
Yeah, and I remember each time I go to his week, there would be a person, or more than a person, would be like, "What have you done, Rashad? Why are you getting bigger?" You're like, that shirt makes you look so small, right? So yeah, I think definitely you can see that, and I agree with you that bodybuilding, even cutting hair itself, is always a form of an art, right? So it's really about bodybuilding is not just training hardcore at the gym, but you want that aesthetic look. You want to be able to, and I think both actually allows you to know more about yourself, right? As you said, whether you're cutting someone's hair or you are actually receiving, getting a haircut. I think both are very, in a sense, very therapeutic. So, it's very healing in a lot of ways, right? And I think bodybuilding itself is a process of knowing about your body, but also a process of, I think, healing a lot of the body trauma that we experience, the body dysphoria that we experience, right? And so I think that really connects a lot, those two things.
Yeah.
And yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you were gonna ask the next question, or I was just gonna say what I loved about what Rashad was saying is that I mentioned that cutting hair was more of like a way to empower others, and he said, well, no, actually that is also empowering to me, watching them go through that process and how they feel afterward when I do a good job, and getting to teach them and all that stuff. And then he was talking about how he's seeing, other people in his life are seeing changes in his physique because of what you've taught him about training. And as soon as he said that, like, you see your like smile, like your face lit up. You were so excited and happy to hear that. Like, yeah, other people in Rashad's life are seeing the changes in his physique that are coming from you helping him. And it all kind of clicked in that moment. I was like, I see like how doing that for somebody else empowers you as the person who's like helping that person. So I thought that was really cool.
I think that's always the joy of being a coach in some, to whatever extent it is, right? Whether you're training someone, you're, helping someone to be their better version of themselves. I think it's always very, very, it's always very self-healing. You talk about self-care, right? So there's also this process of healing ourselves, while we are trying to empower other people and helping others, with what we have or what we have in terms of knowledge and skills. And yeah, I mean, I was wanting to transition to our next topic, related one about empowering, others, right, in the form of, let's say, community. So I know, like, recently you have formed Project H.I.M. Can you tell us more about what Project H.I.M is?
So Project H.I.M, so I was in my suite one day last year, and I was like, I do a lot for the community. I go out, I get free haircuts, I attend, others' events. I may even ask if I could cut hair there, cut the kids for free or something. I'm like, let me figure something out to have my own. So I had what I call was a chat and chew before, where it was a private setting of trans masculine men, and we was just having conversations that we can't have outside, outside of a private setting. And I had a guy come in and talk about housing and things like that. So we just had a real intimate conversation. So after that, I was like, I really want to have my own organization where I'm able to help others like myself. So Project H.I.M, H-I-M stands for helping individuals like myself. And when I say like myself, trans masculine, driven, open to learning and being more educated and all that. So I just decided that I wanted to start it. So when I started it, I did what I call a cuts and conversation. So the same conversations that we have in my suite privately, I was putting them on Facebook Live so that others could ask questions or get involved with the conversation as well. So it's like barbershop talk, but it's in my suite with cuts and conversations. I've done 2 panels with it. We were at the Art of Grooming Barbershop in Sandy Springs. We got invited over there to hold a session. C-Farm was one of the panelists. So I'm just trying to grow my organization all the way around. It's just, you just don't get to have those spaces sometimes where you're able to be your authentic self and have that support and be able to speak freely and raw. You know what I'm saying? So I have, like I said, I have the chat and choose, I have my cuts and conversation, and I also have a barbering class up under Project H.I.M where I see individuals in the community that cut hair, or they do it on the side, or they're trying to, practice on themselves or somebody. And I decided to hold a class for free where I was teaching them advancing their skills that they already had, and some people were actually learning for the first time. And I don't mind giving back. I was, looking for sponsors. It's kind of hard to get people to say, here's my money.
Right.
So, I sent out a
sponsor.
Yeah. So I sent out a sponsorship letter. Those that saw fit did send a little something. I had the class. I gave them everything they needed to be a barber. Everything, including clippers, for free. So everybody got a nice gift bag with combs, brushes, razors, product, clippers, everything they needed. So each bag totaled about $250 to $300 a bag. And I had 5 people in that class, and I try to keep it between 5 and 7 people because it's so pricey. And I want to do them every quarter. So my next one will be the 1st of December, around the 1st of December. But those are 3 things that I have going on right now under my organization right now as well. So.
Wow. That's even more than I thought. I am just really impressed, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been, as he said, I've been to one of his panels, and it was very empowering. And I think it's also very smart to do, Facebook Live, putting things up on social media, where I think in this age, it's also very caring in a sense that not a lot of people can travel all the way. Oh yeah, no, it's standard. Yeah, so I think it's very empowering in the sense that, and it also very caring in the sense that people who cannot drive to the location, they can actually still be able to take part of conversations. And I think I have went to a few, like on Facebook Live, like went to a few of your conversation. It was always very fun. It was always very, and I really appreciate all the guests that you have are very open-minded to all sorts of different questions. And it's always really, really intriguing to really know about someone else's lives. And I think that's really important in the sense that to build that intimacy and community. And to give back to the community, right? So contribute what you know, what you love, what you're passionate about. And as far as that, I was thinking very much about your involvement with IATBP. As our intro in your bio kind of suggests, you have been judging, our competition for the bodybuilding competition for a few years. Just tell us more, how you first get involved with us. How did you know about IATBP in the first sense?
So when I moved to Atlanta, October 1st, 2014, I knew the competition was coming up that same month. I was still healing from my top surgery, but I was in connection with Sean Stenson, the very first. We knew each other prior, so when he told me he was doing the competition, I said I would be there to support. When I made it to the competition, I walked backstage. Me being the good friend that I am, I said, let me look at my boy and make sure he's good, So when I went back there, I checked him out. It's funny because I was like, man, you too greasy. You can't go out there like that. They won't be able to see you. So he was like, well, what I need to do? Because that was his first competition as well. So I wiped him down. I was like, listen, this is what you need to do because, the grease is going to distort from your muscles being seen the way they need to be seen. So, and at the time, and we laughed about it and we still laugh about it today. I said, man, you ain't got no legs. so and I'm a very blunt friend now. Those type of friends you need in your life, man. Come on now.
No, I love that because Sean is like a legend in trans bodybuilding. So the fact that you just went to him and you were like, you don't have any legs, man.
No legs, yeah. So I told he knew it. His upper body was phenomenal. I was like, so if you want to bring out some legs, do this type of pose when they call out legs and thighs. Thighs and abs. Yeah. So he did it, and so we laughed about it. But that's how I ended up getting into judging because that next year he was on the judges panel and Becky had him, asked him who else did he know that would have been good for the fit, and he called me, and that was my first time meeting Becky. And for 3 years, I think Sean and I were the only judges aside from Becky, and then that's when other judges were started after he decided. I don't know what happened with the situation, but he no longer was judging. And I think that's when you came on, Seafoam, and a couple other guys came on. So I've been doing it for a few years now, since the second competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just I think he just got really busy. I think there was
he's extremely busy with family
and got really busy.
Yes.
So
yes.
But we're still on great terms. We love Sean. Like I said, he's a fucking legend in trans bodybuilding to me. So
yeah. So that's how I got into it. Sean was my man. He got me into it. So and Becky been calling me every year, and I really appreciate it. Love you for that.
We loved having you because you're a part of the history of the IATBP, honestly. And so and Sean is every time I go on his Instagram, he stays near stage ready year round, and I don't understand it.
And he's also vegan now too, so he got this awesome body. I'm like, man, Sean, how can I get my body like yours? But
and he gets bigger too. He stays lean and gets bigger. It's the ultimate mystery for me.
But it's crazy that it's a few people I know that's like that. My last workout partner that's a bodybuilder, he's lean all year round, and his cheat meal is ice cream. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Dude, how do you eat like this every day? I need some real food in my life. It was a struggle for me. So even transitioning, I haven't bodybuild as who I am now because I just don't feel like I want to go through that discipline section of it. You know, the dieting part of it, and with what I have going on every day, I don't want my mood to change, you know, around my clients. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I just rather just stay fit and, you know, make sure I'm still a judge and make sure I cheer Seafoam when he get ready to compete.
Yeah.
But that's it. So, I mean, I don't look to be competing unless Seafoam really talk me into it and go stick with me the whole, how many weeks? 10 to 12 for me, not 6 to 8.
No, you cannot do it.
I was gonna say, I feel like it would be.
See, I gotta do 14 to 16 weeks I would have to do. I would lose my mind.
I was gonna say, I've been dieting since like May, and I'm not even close to stage lean, so I think it might be a while.
Yeah, and you know, I think the disciplining part, I don't know, the disciplining part is the most
Yeah,
fun
I
part.
think in order to
Well,
do
just like
bodybuilding for a
Rashad
long
said,
time,
if
you
it
have to
doesn't
love
challenge you, it won't change you. So it has to challenge you in order to change you. So
That's
Yeah.
true, but I think it'll challenge even the people who love it. So like
Yeah.
Seafoam said, like Seafoam is like, oh, I love it, I think it's the fun part, but I've also heard the war stories. It's still tough.
right.
So,
Like I eat for taste, and I know you're not supposed to eat for taste. But if I be around Seafoam, I'm not eating for taste. So Seafoam will eat some dry white rice and some dry boiled chicken, and I can't do that.
oh my God, you're like my boyfriend eats what he's
Awesome. Whatever sauce. I mean, I don't know. Like, but I think, you know, as you just said about, you know, some of the challenges of prepping a competition, I think the food part could be still durable. No,
Yeah.
tolerable. I mean, tolerable. In the sense that you know it's going to end at some point, right? And I think for a lot of people, as for me as well, I mean, over times of prepping for competitions and seeing people prepping for competitions, I think the biggest challenge is actually the mental challenge. How you're not going to be pissed off, get annoyed, by random stuff, and how do you actually? For me, it's really that mental transformation that. That attracts me so much in the sport because I just see myself, from the first 1 or 2 competitions, I was out of control. Like mentally, I was in very bad shape. I get pissed off. I'm so angry all the time. I would just randomly piss off.
Yeah, because you couldn't eat.
Yeah, because you don't have enough carbohydrates in your brain, right? And the mood swings and also all the drugs coming in. You don't know, your body doesn't know how to deal with them. But I think over time, what really gets me going is that I realized that at that time my partner was like, if you're not gonna get your moods in a steady mode, we're not gonna work out. So I was like, okay, this is like the ultimatum. I have to make up my mind. And then I realized that it actually transformed me in the sense that I think I have a pretty good control of my emotions in general, and I realized that once you are able to get through that emotional turmoil, what is really ahead of you is for me, it's a spiritual transformation. It's really like being able to be in my zone. It's almost like when you play some of these sometimes take some ball. People playing basketballs and talking about being able to be in the zone. I was just so happy to be on stage. I was so touched, and I realized that why everyone was like so uptight, so sad, so anxious at the backstage before they go right to the stage. And I was like, I feel just so light, so happy, And I think that was the moment that I realized that, okay, this is what I love about this sport, because the sport itself is not just a physical challenge to your body. I mean, it's a spiritual challenge and a mental challenge. And I think once you get through that, you're able to really, it's just a complete different level of thinking. It's like dealing with like obstacles and challenges in your life. And I think that's something that is still very, very, very empowering to me. And yeah, I'm so glad that you enjoy. I hope you enjoy. I believe you enjoy being a judge because you stick around, you know. Yeah, can you just briefly go through, you know, some of the things that you are looking for as a judge, you know, in the bodybuilding competition?
Well, as a judge, I look for the overall top and bottom. The top have to match the bottom have to match the top. You can't have a bigger top and these little legs, and you can't have huge legs. And so it's got everything to me has to be proportionate from top to bottom. If I have two guys that's neck and neck, I'm looking for the one with that extra striation, you know, or that extra, you know, heart. Just let me know that you really want it, because you have some guys, they be so exhausted, they can't really hold a pose. I'll know who's been practicing their posing from watching them on stage, because I went through that process myself of shaking the whole time because, you know, I wasn't practicing like I was supposed to. So I just pretty much look for overall from top to bottom. I look for a complete smoothness in the tanning. If you're going to tan, I suggest tanning. Again, so I pretty much look for all those little things. I'm looking at him. I'm trying to say, okay, he's tan, but he's not. So with him being tan, he looks a little bit better than you not being tan. And, you know, I don't want your body to be darker than your face. And I look for all those little bitty things when it comes to bodybuilding. But at the end result, it's the one with the best physique overall. You don't even have to be big. You don't have to be big. You could be a smaller guy. But if you took the time to get that diet on point and to dry out like you were supposed to, and you came ready, that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna actually comment on that because I know in 2021 our overall winner was in the lightweight category, and if you just looked at the guy who won the other divisions, those guys, like, they were bigger physically, but mass wasn't really what was prioritized necessarily, because it was the guy who won. I mean, he was shredded.
Listen, are you talking about the guy from Russia?
No, I know who you're talking about. That was years and years ago. But that guy was really shredded.
Absolutely. Yeah, he wasn't a heavyweight either.
No. If you look at his physique, like, I still have pictures. I pass by them when I work on our social media stuff. And, like, he doesn't look big next to, like, the other people in terms of, like, tall or anything. But he looks jacked because you can see, like, every single muscle.
It's the illusion. That causes the confusion.
Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like, you know, a lot of people really go for size, but what you're saying is if you don't focus enough on the dieting and on balancing out your kind of, like, better and, like, weaker body parts, you're not necessarily gonna take it just because you have bigger muscles.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, as a posing coach myself, I can see a lot of people. I think, you know, if you do not see this muscle striation, it's mostly because your diet is not good enough. Like, you know, your diet might still contain a lot of unnecessary calories that, you know, that you didn't really trim down enough. So a lot of times if you see, you know, really good people with really good, you know, muscle size and shape, but doesn't get that striation and conditioning, it's mostly because of the dieting. And then, you know, the left side. And also, I think, you know, remember that not one physique, even the best physique in the world, is balanced.
Right.
Everyone has something in balance. Yes. So a lot of times, not just the upper body and lower body, but a lot of times the left side and the right side, you have a bigger left arm, smaller right bicep, bigger tricep on the left, you know. You just need to know how to twist, you know, your body here and there to be able to showcase a seemingly, as you said, an illusion, a seemingly balanced physique. And I think, you know, remember that, you know, posing and being up on stage is to really showcase not what you do at the gym, but, you know, to showcase a certain illusion that could make judges feel like you are very balanced, up, top and down, and also left and right. And I think it's also so much about confidence as well, right? We see I've been in the judging panel last year, and I do see some athletes really, really confident, you know, coming out from the beginning to the end. And I think those are actually very important because, you know, one of our criteria is I also think looking into the presentation, you know, whether you can really present yourself, you know, as, confident, there's someone, yes, the stage presence, whether you have that confidence and look, on stage. And I think what the stuff that is said about, the size itself, of course, if you have two people very, very conditioned, similarly conditioned, we probably will look for the one who has slightly bigger size, right? Especially in the mass division, right? And then, in terms of like conditioning, we won't say we prioritize, but then as we both said just now, if you're more conditioned, you also look bigger because, you will look more 3D in general. So I would always encourage people to, get a little slightly leaner rather than too, buffy when you're on stage, because you can be in a smaller, lighter weight, but if you are, if your skin is tight enough, then you will be able to showcase a more three-dimensional physique that actually makes you look much bigger. Right. And I've been seeing athletes who are in, 130 pounds. I mean, usually women bodybuilders who are in 130 pounds, and then they could beat someone in 170 pounds, and 5'7", they could be like just 5'2", 5'4", only because they look more balanced and they are much more shredded with a lighter weight. So don't chase for the weight, don't chase for just the size or the shape of the muscle, but really go for the overall feeling and the overall balance. Right. I think that's very important. I think that's what you're looking, as judges, looking for as well.
Right. Yeah, and I think some people, I tell them that and they don't believe it, but there's tons and tons of videos on Instagram and YouTube where people take videos of competitive bodybuilders in the INBF, the IFBB, NPC, where you'll see the athletes side by side on stage, and there's someone who, they look almost exactly the same size-wise, but the guy who's more shredded, like you're like, whoa, he kind of looks a little bit bigger, but you can see they're like the same height, and like if you actually measure it, like the width of their bicep is the same or whatever it is, but like their back looks huge because there's like all this striation. So you can Google that for proof of the illusion of bodybuilding for sure. And I also want to reinforce what Siu-Feng said about posing, that like I think a lot of people get really in their heads about posing if they have a weak body part, and it's right, part of it is training the weak body part, and another part of it is working maybe with a posing coach to really emphasize the aspects of your physique that are good and kind of hide a little bit the slightly less, positive aspects of your physique, especially during your freestyle. I don't know if that's true, Siu-Feng, if that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I think so. And I would say, you don't necessarily need a coach for your posing, but you would need to at least try in your own time to really look into some of these like bodybuilders that you like, bodybuilders that you want to imitate. And then I would also suggest looking for videos like, for example, in Olympia videos from the IATBP Pro, and then so you can have a sense of how other people poses. And as you said, there are also a lot of like basic basic lecturing videos on how to do certain posing. And I think what we are asking for in our competition is pretty standard type of posing. So you can definitely find those information online on YouTube, just by watching some other folks doing that and have a sense of how you are going to hit those poses. And then I would say, it's much more about looking at the mirror, and always remember that a lot of times you have to visualize from the perspective of the judges. Right. So you don't want to lean too back or lean too forward, right, in some of these whatever front or back poses, because you have to consider where the judges sit and how they're looking at you, at what angle. I think that would matter a lot, in terms of how much you lean backward, forward your body. And then it would, again, give that illusion of you looking much bigger than the others, even though you are of the same weight, same condition, and same size in general. Right. And I know, so Rashad, from your so many years of judging, do you have any advice or tips for those people who are, coming to compete in November?
Siu-Feng said you may not need a posing coach, but I think you may not need a posing coach, but you need someone that knows what they're doing when it comes to posing. because you may think that you're posing just fine just by looking in the mirror, and it may just be that one movement or that one lean forward or lean back or bring it over here or bring it over there that'll change the way your physique look to us. So I would still suggest that you either get a posing coach or someone that knows a lot about posing that's able to help you and use. I wouldn't do posing in between my workout. A posing to me is a workout on its own. So I would use so I would either do that in the morning or at night, aside from my regular workout, because it'd be too much to try to do both. But make sure you have a great posing coach. And also, when you get ready to do your, your own thing, your little minute or so of your own routine, pose routine, make it fun. Don't even have to be uptight about it. Show off your best most of your best physiques, poses, or whatever you have. Don't think that you have to hit the standards that we hit in the quarter turns. But also, just have fun. Be ready, and just come with that physique to show us what you got.
Awesome. I'd also love, we talked a lot about bodybuilding. I'd like to briefly touch on bikini a little bit, just because we do have a bikini division. And the expectations are slightly different. Like I know for bikini, you don't want to be overly lean, overly muscular, and hard. So if we could kind of touch on what you look for in the bikini athletes, because I know there's 2 rounds. Round 1 is the fitness and muscular balance, and round 2 is overall physical appearance. So is there anything you can talk about in terms of what you look for specifically as a judge in the bikini competitors?
Well, one, I don't want you to be too masculine, too muscular in a bikini. I don't want you to be too lean, because then you're giving me, lightweight bodybuilders. So I'm looking for more of like that beach, Baywatch, bikini style. The bikini's not too much in your butt. They're fitting you properly, and you just pretty much just showing off the feminism of the bikini aspect of it. That's what I look for in the bikini competition.
Yeah, and I think one thing is also important about especially bikini category is to really have that overall, what we call overall package, right? So you want to really spend some time, do some makeup, beautiful makeup, do the hair, and make sure you are
walking with heels.
Yes, and you learn and practice walking on heels. Like I feel like this is something a lot of people miss that, and then they realize that okay, I don't actually know how to walk, because I have not been practicing with heels. So I think definitely this is something important. And also, when you are coming out as a bikini competitor, we are looking at how you walk, right from the start. So make sure you practice that as well. How do you greet judges? How do you say goodbye? I mean, you always want to look cheerful, beautiful, good looking.
Don't look like you're uncomfortable.
yes. And the tan itself, we want to have, we want to be able to see, a beautiful, tan, and also the skin tone, to be coherent, with your makeup, I think these are the subtle little things that we're also looking at, apart, from, you posing. And I think, in terms of specific posing, we also have our rule book that, that you will be able to, really look into deep detail of what we are looking for each poses. And so, I think that would also give, a better idea if you're upcoming competing, whether in the bikini or in the bodybuilding division.
Yeah, I love what you said about the overall package, because I know I've seen, and I think bikini in particular, it almost feels a little bit more like a physique-oriented pageant more than
Yes, it's more like a pageant. Yes,
more like a pageant, right? Because I've seen videos of competitive bikini divisions where the athletes were neck and neck physique-wise, and what pushed an athlete over the edge was literally how they walked on and off the stage was just better.
Yeah.
Because that's what the difference was. And so it really is everything from the way you walk around the stage during your T-walk, on and off, your general composure, that really seems to make so much more of a difference with bikini than with bodybuilding, where it's
your entrance and your exit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you talked about that, Sufam, because I feel like that's just so critical. like that can make or break a bikini athlete's competition. So
Yes, for sure. And I think, we really had a great time with Rashad today. And thank you so much for sharing your insights, your journey, and, some of the really amazing work that you're doing for the community. Do you have, is Project H.I.M has any social media handle that, you can share with us so that we can follow you?
Well, my website is not launched yet, but it will be launched in another week or two, and I will make sure I post it. You can follow me on Facebook at Project H.I.M, and I will put the Instagram information up as soon as I get that as well.
And so if you're in Atlanta area and if you're looking for, a barber or a good haircut, also follow Rashad.
Follow me on Instagram at Cuts by Shad, and the link to book with me is on there, and you can always DM me if you don't find something that suits your schedule. I pretty much try to work with everyone's schedule, even if I have to fit you in or come in on a day off. I'm always trying to make sure everybody is taken care of.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I would just have to say one last thing, is that this weekend is Atlanta Pride, so that's why you see I wear a Pride shirt. Yeah, so happy Pride, everyone. If you're from the Atlanta area, the weather is not super good for Pride right now. We have a bit of clouds and a bit of light rain probably, but hopefully we'll be able to see you. We were there yesterday, and we had a great time with the Trans March, and I hope to see some of you in the future in some of our different events as well. And if you want to support us, please follow us, and we have a membership program where you can sign up for membership whether you want to compete or not. So you don't need to be thinking about competing in order to become a member. You can always be a member to support us. It's very crucial for any type of support, especially monetary support for our. I mean, that's the struggle for all organizations, I think, right? That we hope to be able to continue to provide you with competitions each year. So any support would definitely work very well for us. And then we're also looking for volunteers for upcoming competition on November 18th. So follow us on IATBP.official if you haven't already. And then you will find all the information needed to either become a volunteer or to support us by being a member. And today, thank you so much for Nat and for Rashad for being here, for taking your time. And thanks myself for taking the time as well, and to all the self-care, right? So hopefully, you had a great time, and thank you all so much.
So I appreciate that you just gave the whole closeout speech. I love that. But we actually did have somebody send us a question during the conversation. I don't know if you have a couple minutes, Rashad, to answer a question from an audience member. Because I know we're pushing up on time here, but someone asks, are you at the place where you are completely content with your physique, or do you continue to strive for more?
I'm never content with my physique. So yeah, I'm always striving to do more, make it better. Right now I think I'm just fat, and people are like, no, you're not fat, but that's how I feel. So I have to do something about that. There's a lot of things that I want to change when it comes to my body, so I'm always striving to do something different.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you.
That's the only question?
Yeah. I mean, it was way at the beginning of the conversation that we were having that they sent it in, but yeah, that was. I didn't know how in depth you were gonna get with that, but they asked it a couple of times because they were very curious, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, inbox me if you got any more questions.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. And that's what I love about the guests that we have on the Fireside Chats is they're always open to emails and DMs and, more questions and being a resource to the community. So
if anyone's in town and wants to be on Cuts and Conversation, just let me know and we'll make it happen. You don't actually have to always get a haircut. You could be sitting in my chair. I just want to go back to saying I had a guest. My guests vary. My guests aren't all trans masculine individuals. My first guest, he's a gay male that's married to a woman with 2 kids.
Wow.
He has a set of twins, but he also has a lover. So that was my first guest. I had another guest that was a trans woman previous and decided to detransition and go back to being a fully engaged man. That was another guest that I had on my show. So I have a variety of people on the show, and if you want to talk about anything, it doesn't matter if it's sex, relationships. Try to stay away a little bit from politics. We don't want to get too deep into that, but we will if we have to. So we just talk about general stuff, everyday life, whatever. It's whatever comes to mind. Just ask it. Right? My next one will be Monday, October 23rd. I have another panel that I'm going to do. So if you tune in to Facebook, I'm trying to do it where I'm streaming Facebook and IG. Haven't got that advanced yet, but I'm getting there. But yeah, so just look for it the 23rd, and we normally start around about 7:30-ish when we have someone that has to do a presentation before, which will be a guy from Gilead that can't be recorded. So, but if you're interested in seeing that presentation, hit me up, let me know, and I'll make sure you know where we are so you can be in attendance.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for offering that opportunity to anybody who's watching. And like Siafong said earlier, and Rashad said earlier, you can find him on Cuts by Shad.
Cuts by Shad.
But with
two Z's, right? Yes.
Awesome. And thank you also to the people in the comments for the love, you guys. I was paying attention while they were talking, and I saw a lot of people out there that were just really resonating with Rashad's experiences, and some of y'all were also hairdressers and barbers, so it was just really cool. So thank you for this conversation. It's one of the best chats we've had in a while, so I'm just really grateful for your time. Thank you.
You're not just telling me that, are you, Nat?
No, I'm serious. Siafong and I were worried during show prep because you're like generally a soft-spoken person, which is something I love in a person. And we didn't want to overwhelm you, but you were just like so awesome. Like talking to you is so much fun. So
the thing with me being soft-spoken, I'm not used to public speaking and things of that nature, but I have to get into it more, especially with my organization.
Right.
I had my first official speaking engagement last weekend at Fort Valley State University. I was nervous, but it worked. Everything worked out. So the more I do it, the more I come out of this shell. So
well, you're a natural. I mean, like I said, this is one of the best chats we've had. I don't know if Siafong would agree, but for me, it was awesome.
You agree?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I'm just mindful of the time, so.
Yeah, sorry, we're just having fun. But yes, Siafong already gave the whole closeout speech, so y'all know where to find everybody. And yeah, thanks for your time. I hope you guys have fun with whatever you're doing today, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
All right, you do the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.